Tom Nocera graduated from Largo High School and St. Pete College in Clearwater, earning a degree in aerospace technology along with a commercial pilot's license. That early education opened the door to a job at Kennedy Space Center, a job which altered the course of his life. After retiring from the Small Business Administration, he set up 4 Florida companies and assembled a remarkable team to lead his way to the 21st century solution to traffic congestion. So with that introduction, I'd like to welcome Tom Nocera to talk a little bit about his aerial transit approach. There you go.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. I want to single out John Maroney, if he's still here, and thank him personally for everything that he did to help make this event happen. We made a request several months ago that we wanted the opportunity to explain our technology. And so here we are today to do that, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. Before I get started, I'm reminded of a quote from Albert Einstein. It said, "We cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created those problems." Today our problem is traffic congestion. Do we agree on that? I believe we do. That traffic congestion is our biggest problem, and that's the problem that I've devoted the remainder of my life to trying to resolve. And I want to do it here in my home area of the Tampa Bay region. But I want to get it started with a understanding that traffic congestion costs us in terms of lost time, lost lives, expenses that deal everything from repairing cars, from collisions to just lots of other expenses. And what we can do today using 21st century technology is eliminate a lot of expense, a lot of loss of life, and we can create a future that we can all be really proud of, that we were here in Tampa Bay area when we started this concept. Big idea. In brief, we want to use an array of 21st century technology that's already been developed. It's already out there. We see it in autonomous cars. We see it in a lot of other areas right now of our lives. And we want to bring this technology together to create a transit network that is so appealing that it will end the desire to own cars. That's the goal. Can we do it? Yes, we can do it. It's called a paradigm shift. To go from an automobile-based area or region into one that's not as automobile-based. How long is it going to take us to get there? Does anyone want to hazard a guess? Well, let's look at a historical precedent and see if we can extrapolate something from that. How long did it take from us to go from horse-drawn carriages to automobiles? This is a photograph taken in 1900 in New York City on an Easter Sunday on 5th Avenue, and it shows one automobile. And every other vehicle on 5th Avenue on that Easter Sunday was a horse-drawn carriage. 13 years later, we have a photograph showing that every vehicle except for one horse-drawn carriage. So we had this transition take place that it took approximately a decade. Now keep in mind that during this time frame, this was before radio and TV and social media and the internet. So ideas catch on a lot faster today than they did at the turn of the last century. For Clearwater, I'm willing to stick my neck out with a forecast on how long this transition is going to take. And my belief is that within 5 years of having 12 miles of guideway operational, we're going to see the diminishing. The first thing we'll see is the two-car family go away. You'll be able to get along fine with just one car in your garage. And then there'll be certain segments of the population that won't even want to get a driver's license like a lot of the millennials do today. So what we're going to see then is a transition that I think will be as fast as the smartphone transition. We can also look at how fast Uber caught on. I mean, they went from it's already some of the statistics on how common their usage is, as have already been stated by other speakers. But their valuation went from $3 billion to $68 billion in just a couple of years. I mean, it's remarkable what they've been able to do with introducing a concept that we're going to talk about in a minute. So who's going to notice this first? I think it's going to be Billy Fusillo. I think we're just going to find out that selling cars here isn't quite as huge as it was before we launched this. So how are we going to do it? We're going to do this by implementing a profitable APRT system. This is APRT. This is something that I've got, this and maybe one other acronym to introduce to you. So it's an aerial personal rapid transit system. It's got a secret ingredient to it, secret sauce. It's passive maglev technology. This is third generation maglev. It's been perfected by our vendor, SkyTrain Incorporated. They're a company that's backed by Google's chairman, Eric Schmidt, out in Silicon Valley. They're located at Ames Research Center, a NASA facility. And there's someone that we have an exclusive arrangement with to represent their technology in the Tampa Bay region. In the wings, this technology, each vehicle has wings. It's more like an airplane than an automobile, although it's got landing gear, it's got wheels. At slow speeds, cornering, it will be on its wheels. Coming into stations, it will be on its wheels. When it gets to 15 miles an hour, that's when lift takes place. And then you're in a quiet, vibration-free experience for your transit. In the patented motor, it generates thrust. So we've got the same passive maglev technology generating both the lift and the thrust. It requires far less energy and maintenance than the electromagnetic maglev system that's used today in high-speed trains. In fact, the maintenance part of this, when you take friction out of the equation for transportation, when you think about the cost of maintaining a car or a bus with brakes and all the parts that wear out because of friction, we're introducing something where there's very minimal friction. Therefore, our costs are very low. That's what makes it profitable. And by being profitable, that's what makes it not dependent on taxpayer funding. Now, I know a lot of you here represent entities that generate taxes and all that, and that's fine. We want to work with everybody to bring this about, and we see public-private partnerships as being the way to go for that going forward. I want to give a demonstration of the technology that is this passive maglev and how it operates. I think from a technology forum standpoint, this may be the take-home thing that you'll remember, is what's passive maglev technology.
My colleague, we're based at the NASA Ames Research Center. What he's showing you is he's holding a magnet in his hand. Magnets are invisible force that attract other magnets, and they attract iron. He's pointing to the top sheet, which is plastic. There's no iron in plastic. The bottom sheet is aluminum. There is no iron in aluminum. So he's going to drop the magnet, and you'll see what happens from the plastic to the aluminum. Okay, we get it. Drop it. There we go. So he drops it, and it just falls straight down. Why? Because of gravity. He's going to do it again, drops the magnet, it falls straight down. Now, what's cool about aluminum is although it doesn't have any iron and it's not magnetic, it does conduct electricity because it has something that physicists call loose electrons. And those loose electrons conduct electricity, but on magnets, they also act sometimes like heavy molasses. And you see, the magnet comes to almost a full stop simply by changing the orientation of the magnet. We're going to show it to you again. From the plastic to the aluminum, boom, complete stop. Now, anyone who's been on a roller coaster has experienced this, because this is how roller coasters stop. You can go very fast and then boom, you come to an almost immediate stop. Why? Because of this molasses effect. So what did our engineers do? They thought, well, if we can change the orientation of these magnets and put two magnets together, we can fly. And that's what you're seeing here. This is the magic of magnetic flight. This is just like a glider glides on air. Our wings, we call these our magnetic wings, glide along this aluminum. And they're doing it on a magnetic wave that they themselves are actually generating, so no power is required. Now look what happens. We put a Skytrain vehicle on our magnetic wings. And all we have to do is push this vehicle forward or pull it forward, and you're going to see what happens. Bingo, flight. And understand that this flight is free. We're not spending any energy to get the flight. And what does the flight get us? Zero friction. And what happens when you remove friction from transportation? Your energy usage drops precipitously. So all we do is we take all of this stuff and we give it a little push. If any of you have played air hockey or ice hockey, you know what happens when you give that puck a little push? Boom, it'll go forever. That's how Skytrain is efficient, cost-effective, and really the game changer.
That was Jerry Sanders, someone that I was working with a couple years ago when I first started exploring what was the best technology to resolve our transportation problems. Since then, he's no longer with Skytrain. He said something that's not quite accurate, and that had to do with it eliminates the need for energy. Well, of course, there is energy required to create this lift, but it's just a very small amount of energy that's required. This is a rendering of what one of the station designs would look like. Our guideway system has an upper level, which is kind of an expressway to offer point-to-point service to the station that you're departing from to the station that you're arriving at with no intermediate stops. The lower level is coming into a station. The vehicles have the capability of going in reverse. They can back into a station as shown on this rendering. You also see the elevator that's on the side. Each of our stations for ADA compliance has a hydraulic lift system that will allow people in wheelchairs or needing help to get into the station area. We have some more technology to cover. This is what a two-person, we call them Lovecraft. We coined the term Lovecraft because they're a levitating form of aircraft. So we've generated that term, and if you just click this, you're going to get a peek inside what the two-person, it's going to remind you of the seating for a car. They'll come in a 4-passenger model. We'll offer both on our system. The same guideway will accommodate either 2 or 4 person. A couple of unique points about the 4-person model. One is the door is designed to be able to accommodate a standard size cargo pallet. That means we can move things on palletized. The 4-person model has a lift capacity of 1,200 pounds. So that's what's being designed for. So one of the other cool benefits of this system is that if we take the seating all out of it, it can be modified to accommodate very easily a gurney and an emergency medical technician. We believe that the fastest way to get to the hospital between some destinations is going to be this system. We think it will save lives. This is another rendering of an indoor system, and the design for the systems are being created so that they can go into all different types of architectural locations. What we're looking at is the design that would work perhaps in a large hotel. A smaller station might work in a condominium complex. We're going to see these systems inside the stadiums of the future, where we can actually go into the stadium and wrap around and let people off right at their section. And through our app, we'll be able to do game day ticketing so that you can actually get your ticket and be able to go right to the section for the baseball game or the football game that you want to see. Outdoor station designs. What we're looking at out at Clearwater Beach hasn't been determined yet. There's going to be a feasibility study coming up on that. But the idea of a guideway system gets you thinking about 20 feet above the roadway, and it allows you what we call a pelican's eye view. So the scenery going out to the beach for our pilot project is pretty spectacular. So this is an open air station design. Again, you see the upper expressway and the lower level guideway. This design takes up a footprint of about 20 feet by 40 feet. The top of the roof is covered with solar panels. We're a solar driven system, so we're sustainable that way. Each of the left craft has 2 electric motors in it, one for the propulsion system, one for the air conditioning. Our pilot project is to go between Clearwater Beach and downtown Clearwater. We're looking at approximately 5 stations, 1 hangar facility, about 2.7 miles of guideway system, and a budget of approximately $40 million. It's our plan and our hope to be operational by spring break of 2019. Thereafter, we would like to expand our service to Morton Plant Hospital, circle going around the campus there to connect the campus of Morton Plant to the beach. We'd like to go to North Beach and South Beach, 2 more extensions. And we'd like to continue the service out of Gulf to Bay, go down to St. Pete Clearwater International Airport. I'll talk about Tampa International in a minute. We'd like to provide a station at St. Petersburg College at Spectrum Field. We'd like to go up to Dunedin and a couple stations there, one probably for the Blue Jays Stadium and one in the downtown area. We'd like to then go south down the Gulf beaches and complete a network. It's a big idea. It's about $10 million per mile of guideway, but it's doable. So how are we going to do this? Well, we place this elevated guideway system alongside our most congested corridors. Our construction is not disruptive to traffic. We're off to the side. Usually it will be either above sidewalks or above bicycle trails or walking paths. We're going to expand in stages without disrupting the current traffic. Within the guideways, our 21st century technology will quietly propel a fleet of left craft, and they'll go nonstop from your departure station right to where you're going to be arriving. Speeds in urban areas will initially align with those on our adjacent roads. So if a highway speed limit is 45 miles an hour, well, that's what we'll set up to operate at that, for that segment. The system, I'm told, will have very high speed capabilities. Once we can build this out to where we can connect Clearwater Beach to Orlando, we'll be able to go in excess of 90 miles an hour easily. We'll probably be able to go double that, in fact. But that's in the future, we will see. It was mentioned before with regard to the impact of winds on our system. Many of us on the team are pilots. We're very cognizant of the impact of crosswinds. We want to assure everybody that we won't be operating in times of where wind speeds make the ride less than a very pleasant experience. We're going to need to establish what the optimum headway is between the left craft on the guideway system. We think right now that probably, just like with cars, 1 vehicle length for every 10 miles per hour is probably going to be the comfort level to get started with the system. And then the next step will be to release our smartphone app. We've already got it in beta right now. It's on our phones. And you have the capability with this of not only picking your destination and your departure point, but you can also make reservations from it. You'll be able to update your account. You'll be able to choose a payment method and probably qualify for a discount. Right now, all our projections are based on a $4 fare. to go from downtown Clearwater out to the beach. So that's the number that we're using for our business plan. We're also going to have the availability to talk about the locations that are near our stations to help promote local businesses. It wasn't said in my introduction, but I was on the launch crew for Apollo 11 back in 1969 after graduating from St. Petersburg College. I learned what a team could do at that point, so I made it my goal to set up and bring together the best team that I could find to help me make this happen. So, John Tewksbury, my classmate at Largo High School, was one of the first. He moved down from Virginia. He retired from the federal government, doing things that he can't talk about, but has made a valuable contribution to our team. Our newest member of the team, Shali Valerie, a Tulane graduate, has operated her own business and has a strong tie to the fact that Pinellas County has led the way in many respects with regard to converting railroads into trails and bike paths. There was a family connection there that she'll tell you about. We've got Stephen Henley, a businessman from Tampa. Davidson Tavares, our Annapolis graduate, who graduated third in his class, became a pilot in the Navy, and then became a commercial pilot for many years until his family expanded by the birth of twin sons, which changed the course of his life and has led him to a career with Morgan Stanley. Davidson is our chief financial officer for one of the 4 LLCs that have been set up to bring this about. Then there's my brother Bud. Bud is a former CEO of Visit Florida. He's not the one that hired Pitbull. He's probably one of the most knowledgeable people in Florida with regard to tourism. And then we could talk for an hour about the impact of tourism if we were the first to develop the system and how this will bring people here from all over the world to see a system like this operate. Lastly, but not least, someone who's been with me by my side ever since I first kicked around the idea of this kind of elevated transit system, and that's Joe Corvino from Clearwater. And his help has been beyond valuable. And I would like to express that my gratitude to the team. They've all been volunteers on this, and they've done a tremendous job. So our next steps, a bridge study by Agner and Campbell. We've got Colin Campbell and Remy Agner here today. They're our engineering consultants for the bridge. The bridge is the key place that needs to be studied first for the suitability of our system to transit it. Next will be a feasibility study by SkyTrans engineers, and they'll be here soon to do that. The next step is going to be a request to the City of Clearwater for right-of-way. After we obtain the permission for right-of-ways, then we're going to be doing a detailed study of the route, and that's when the station locations will be selected and the size of the stations will be determined, and a lot of the other pre-purchase order contract details will be ironed out. We're going to be leveraging Space Florida's role in system development. We've had meetings with Space Florida. We're excited about the possibility of Space Florida coming in as the developer on the system. I think that would be a huge, if we can make that happen, that'll be a huge benefit to make this possible and make it happen quickly. The last step is to have Florida's Department of Transportation certify the system. It could be that SkyTrain will build a test facility over at Kennedy Space Center. Talks are underway about that. And that would facilitate getting, that test track would facilitate getting FDOT's approval for the system. So that's a quick overview on the St. Pete Tampa Aerial Transit STAT, one of the 4 companies that have been set up to bring about this solution for our traffic congestion. I've mentioned before about Tampa International Airport. We believe it's feasible that we can provide service from Clearwater Beach to Raymond James Stadium right before the Super Bowl in 2021. So to do this, we need to be able to get the route selected and the engineering studies completed in 2019. We need to arrange for the financing that will be required to bring this about. We'll have 2020 to do the construction work. We'll be going along, in all likelihood, either the corridor, the Route 60 corridor over the bicycle path, or we'll be acquiring a right-of-way through our friends at CSX Railroad and acquire a right-of-way that will take us over to in the vicinity of the stadium above their tracks. We'll be building a hangar facility somewhere in Hillsborough County that will be hurricane-proof. And then in early 2021, our goal will be to start the service between Clearwater Beach and Raymond James Stadium. That means having a stop, of course, at Tampa International Airport. It means having a stop at International Mall. So here are your takeaways from my presentation. We're going to be able to glide quietly above trails and sidewalks. I see Ray Chiaramonte here today, and I want to thank Ray and his staff at TBARTA for working with us with regard to identifying the trails that where the system could be implemented. We're designing this initially for 1,800 plus passengers per hour. With that capacity, we'll be able to take about a third of all the cars off the bridge and off the Memorial Causeway. It's an expandable system with low-cost stations. That outdoor station I showed you a while ago costs about $500,000 to build. In today's dollars, that's not a lot of money. The system can fit with inside buildings. This is huge. You know, you can go into a hotel now and be able to board the system and have it take you right to the airport. We talked about our mobility on demand. That's our concept is use your smartphone, order up the vehicle. Now, first mile, last mile, you know, maybe use Uber or one of the other services to get to your station. Or perhaps you choose to live at a place that has a station. I think we're going to see that in the future. So we're solar powered and sustainable. Aerial personal rapid transit is a 21st century solution. I'd invite you to engage with us through either Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or email or visit the website. Lastly, I want to thank you for your time and your attention today.